Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Today, the game is different.
I want to gamble. Gambling is a very serious business. Is that clear?
Welcome to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you here, deep from the swamps of Jersey. We got a great show coming up for you. Phil Mickelson is one of the most controversial athletes in the sports world today. Controversies seem to follow Mickelson throughout his career, up to and including a couple of weeks ago when he pulled out of the PGA Championship because of his remarks about the Saudi Golf League. Well, he made those comments to the author of an explosive new book entitled Phil, a rip-roaring and unauthorized biography of golf's most colorful superstar, written by Alan Shipnuck. This book is making news all around the country, and coming up, we are going to talk to the author himself, Alan Shipnuck. His new book documents the incredible career of Phil Mickelson, from his controversial statements to his gambling debts, and including an insider trading situation Mickelson found himself in. Coming up, I'm talking with the author, Alan Shipnuck, so stick around. We'll be right back with House of Cards.
Yeah, you, come here. Haven't you heard? We don't need to hide anymore.
Now, we can shop privately for adult products at adamandeve.com. They've got massage oils, lingerie, and lots more we can't mention here.
Use offer code SPICE404.
They'll give you 50% off almost any one item, 3 free DVDs, free mystery gift, and free shipping. That's 50% off, free shipping, and more. Private shopping starts at adamandeve.com.
You're listening to the House of Cards.
Whoa!
I think we got a show.
Oh, yeah, we got a show.
We definitely got a show.
Oh, yeah, there's a show. Hey, it's all about ratings, baby, and we got them.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. When it comes to colorful athletes, Phil Mickelson has to be at the top of the list. Seems like Mickelson combines incredible talent on the links with a knack for finding controversy at every stage of his career. And an incredible new book documents his rise to one of the greatest and one of the most controversial athletes in the last few decades. The book is called Phil, a rip-roaring and unauthorized biography of golf's most colorful superstar. And in the last couple of weeks, it has gotten a lot of attention. And we are lucky to have the author Alan Shipnuck with us to talk about it. Alan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
First off, congratulations. It's an amazing book. I really enjoyed reading it. And you're a journalist covering golf and the PGA for a long time, and you saw up close the rise of Phil Mickelson. And in the book, you actually said it was a project 20 years in the making. What prompted you to write the book at this time? When did you come to the decision that this would be the right time to tell the Phil Mickelson story?
Yeah, my first year covering the PGA Tour was 1994, and that was Phil's second full season. So I've been tracking him pretty much the entirety of his professional career. And I've always been drawn to Phil. He's such a charismatic performer, and he's also he's a great interview. He has a very sharp needle. He's very smart. Probably not quite as smart as he thinks he is, but he's has an opinion on everything.
Yeah,
and so I've always been, and more than any other sort of modern golf superstar, he saw the value in reporters and kind of let them in.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky to see Phil in a lot of different settings, and I just had a lot of material squirreled away. I guess you could say. And it was really when COVID hit, and I wasn't traveling. There was no access for reporters at PGA Tour events, and just said, this would be a hell of a time to work on a book. And so I started making phone calls, and just everyone else was home and bored as well. So I was able to get an incredible number of golfers and caddies and agents and other people on the phone. And in a pretty compressed period of time, I'm just made a tremendous amount of progress. So that, it's always been percolating, but it was really COVID that got me motivated.
Now, Mickelson is a person that's always in the news. I'm a golf fan, and it seems like I'm either reading or hearing about him in some kind of way. However, I never knew about the environment he grew up in. I mean, family was and is very important to him, and it seems like he had a very special relationship with his father, and especially his grandfather. I know he presented the 18th hole flags to his grandfather after all of his wins, which didn't make a future caddy of his very happy, which is a great story in the book. But how did they influence Mickelson growing up?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually fun for me because, like I said, I kind of picked up Phil once he was fully formed, as a young adult. And so to go back and trace all the history of, this patriarch, Al Santos, his grandfather, who was a Pebble Beach caddy and a fisherman and really lived the immigrant dream of becoming sort of this extremely successful entrepreneur and taking care of his family. And it was, Al played a lot of golf with Phil when he's a little boy, and that was a special relationship. And it's kind of become this piece of folklore that Phil's dad built this backyard putting green for him, and when Phil was 9 years old, and that's really how he mastered the short game, was just endless repetition by himself in the backyard, and sometimes in these competitions against his dad. Mm-hmm. And so it was neat to bring all that to life. And even the San Diego junior golf scene was so vibrant. It just, obviously the weather's perfect year round, but more than that, there's just a really committed group of volunteers and adults who poured their life into creating this infrastructure. And so many great players have come out of San Diego. And so Phil was chasing some of their ghosts, and he had some contemporaries who were really great players, and then he inspired a whole generation behind them. So getting into all that old stuff was really fun. Like in the chapter about, I don't think there's any doubt that Phil's the greatest college golfer of all time.
Sure.
That the chapter when he's at Arizona State it's kind of a riot. It's sort of like Animal House meets Follow the Sun, and reliving his U.S. amateur victory and the 1991 Walker Cup. Like there's this really colorful stuff there. So it was a blast to go through and kind of excavate the old history of Phil.
Well, let me ask you about his time in Arizona State and being an amateur. I guess, we started to see the first signs of what Phil Mickelson would be as a pro. I mean, he displayed incredible talent, but doing and saying controversial things while playing the game. I mean, you talked about in Ireland at the Walker Cup, there was a ball hit into a crowd, and he says that's not where you want to be because the Irish women aren't too attractive, and that got a lot of press. Was that the first indication to a lot of people that Mickelson may say things that would garner a lot of attention in the media?
Yeah, there's always been some rascal in Phil Mickelson, and he's a mischief maker and a pot stirrer, and I mean that thing at the Walker Cup became an actual international incident.
Yeah,
he had to go. He had to disembark from the team bus and film an apology that was being demanded by the Irish consulate. And I mean, it's funny, but in the moment, he thought he might have torpedoed all his potential endorsement deals. And inevitably, that becomes the key match in the entire Walker Cup. Phil singles, and it comes down to the last hole, and he misses the green, and he's on the short side on this downhill hard pan lie, and he hits one of the greatest and most memorable shots of his career to win the match and clinch the Walker Cup for the United States. So Phil's just always in the middle of everything, and he just loves to stick his nose in there. And that goes back to a pretty early age and obviously continues to this day.
Now, as a journalist covering Mickelson for a lot of years, was he open and honest with you, or did he say things to get a rise out of people in and out of the golf world?
Both. Phil's a master manipulator of the media, and he rarely opens his mouth without an agenda. And he's always working an angle, working an edge, and so. But he's also fun. He can be playful, and he has an extremely sharp needle. So everything he says, you have to take with a grain of salt. But he's a great quote. Not everything stands up to the fact checking, but it's colorful material for sure.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
Drizzly makes it easy to shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and liquor from wherever I am. I just open the app, find what I want, and it's at my door in under 60 minutes.
Drizzly. Ding dong, Drizzly.
You're listening to House of Cards. Check out our website at houseofcardsradio.com.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishottle with you. House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Alan Shipnuck, author of the incredible new book, Phil, a rip-roaring and unauthorized biography of golf's most colorful superstar. Well, let me ask you about what he says to the media. I remember one story you relayed about the Ryder Cup when Tom Watson was the captain of the team. Mickelson had a press conference and discussed his feelings of how the team was run and how things could be better for Team USA. I mean, he casted it in terms saying, I'm not saying anything against Tom Watson as a bad captain. I'm just saying Paul Azinger did it better. And eventually a lot of things he was hoping that would happen with the team actually did come to fruition. Does Mickelson see the press as a tool he can use to affect change?
Oh, 1,000,000%. I mean, he likes to think of himself as an agent of change, as kind of this big strategic thinker, as this maverick, this iconoclast. And there's some truth in all of that. But, he's, that 2014 Ryder Cup is interesting because he did kind of throw Tom Watson under the bus in front of the world at this press conference. Was it fueled by personal vendetta because Watson had benched him? Definitely. Mm-hmm. But it was also Phil was tired of losing the Ryder Cup, and he rightfully pointed out that the whole U.S. side was disorganized. There was no continuity from captain to captain, and they're kind of starting over willy-nilly every 2 years, whereas the European side had a whole plan and how they groomed and how they picked their captains and their vice captains, and it put the U.S. at a real structural disadvantage. And so by taking this very public stand, Phil knew that he was going to create the controversy and the momentum for change that was needed. And did it besmirch Tom Watson's reputation? Certainly. Mm-hmm. But the U.S. has now won, after 2 decades of futility, the U.S. has won 2 of the last 3 Ryder Cups, and it looks like they're probably going to dominate the next decade or beyond. And everything that Phil asked for and got has played a role in that. And so you have to tip your cap to him. He puts his neck on the chopping block, sometimes for the greater good, sometimes it's for his own personal benefit, but he's willing to put it out there where, most athletes and celebrities and even everyday humans they want to stay in the safety of the herd. So Phil's definitely, he's definitely not afraid of controversy. He's not afraid to try and pull the levers of power to get what he wants.
Well, speaking of neck on the chopping block, do you think this present situation we have with regard to the Saudi Golf League is just Mickelson doing what he did during the Ryder Cup press conference, but taking it to a new level? I mean, do you think he's really interested in this new Saudi Golf League, or did he see that as a way to force the PGA Tour to make changes, like changes in regard to prize money, media rights, and money for the Players Impact Program? Because it seems like he was trying to force those changes, but I don't think he really thought the blowback would be this big. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good summary. You know, Phil he's engaged in this sort of civil disobedience, you know, like
Yeah.
if beyond just the Ryder Cup, you know, at the 2018 U.S. Open when he smacked a moving putt at Shinnecock. And again, was that petulance because he was playing bad? Certainly. But it was also a public statement that, you know, the USGA had lost control of the golf course again. And a lot of players were privately cheering for Phil because it really put a spotlight on the USGA had just taken the course too far in the setup. And so, you know, the Saudi seduction is really interesting because no one's going to deal with the Saudis if money's not a factor, and they're offering insane amounts of it. And clearly that's tempting to Phil, but you're right that there are these other issues at play, and Phil's engaged behind the scenes in a lot of battles with PGA Tour over the years, and he's rarely won, and it's bothered him. And suddenly the Saudis gave him this leverage he did not have before that. And so he was working both sides of the street very hard. And some of the things were just you might say were just in his own interest, like if you could get a giant payday from the Saudis. But at the same time, he was also trying to, you know, affect change in how the tour conducts its business in a way that would have benefited a lot of players. So, but, you know, he kind of overplayed his hand. Because I think what he failed to really understand is that Saudi Arabia is a very emotional issue for many people, and especially most Americans. They did, you know, it's the birthplace of 15 of the 9/11 hijackers. They did assassinate a Washington Post journalist who was a resident of the United States. I mean, they are bad actors on the world stage. And so Phil thought he was just being this cagey businessman who was working both sides of the street, but the Saudis are toxic and their money is dirty. And I don't think he understood quite the reaction that people are going to have to all of that. And so, and then the other thing, you know, for him to acknowledge their atrocities and to me, and then sort of so casually dismiss them, you know, that was shocking. But I think what really got him in trouble with the tour and his colleagues, it wasn't the words, it was his actions, that he was actually sort of acting as a shadow commissioner and in all these secret dealings and helping the Saudis establish this competitor, the PGA Tour, because if the Saudi Tour prospers and they can get a big TV contract and they can get big corporate support and they can take some of the stars, all of that has a very negative impact on the PGA Tour. I mean, it's siphoning off money that would go to the PGA Tour. And so in some ways, Phil was taking money out of the pockets of his colleagues, and that's why they were so mad at him. It had nothing to do with the human rights violations in Saudi Arabia, is that he was affecting their livelihood. And so it's a really interesting issue that's still playing out because the ground continues to shift and we don't know what's going to happen between the tour and Saudi Arabia, and it's probably headed for the courts. So and that's why I honestly believe why Phil's not here at this PGA. He's just trying to buy time to see how all this stuff is going to resolve itself. And if he showed up here, he would have had to declare his allegiance to either the Saudis or the PGA Tour. And I don't think he knows which way he's going to go yet. So it's better to stay underground.
I know he's claiming in the press that his comments to you about the Saudi golf tour were off the record, but given your account that you laid out in the book, it's hard to believe that Mickelson didn't know he was speaking on the record with regard to his comments. Do you feel he knew he was speaking on the record when he made those comments to you?
Oh, 1,000,000%. I mean, I had approached Phil 3 times face-to-face and asked him to do interviews for this book. And this started the 2020 PGA Championship and carried over into Pebble Beach in early 21, and he thought about it and ultimately he declined, which is fine. That's his prerogative. But then, you know, late in the process of me writing this book, his lawyer reached out and they made this offer for me to become a consultant as Phil was gearing up to take on the tour. And that was really quizzical. I mean, it's a glaringly obvious conflict of interest. I cannot take Phil's money while I'm writing a book about him. It makes no sense. So obviously I declined that, but it tells you, you know, where their head is. You know, they're trying to buy hearts and minds. The manipulation has begun, and so then Phil reached out to me and said he wanted to follow up on that and have a conversation. And given the context of me asking him for these interviews and that I'm deep into writing this book, like every syllable he utters is going straight in the book, and he knows that.
Yeah.
You know, unless we come to some sort of agreement, and if he had asked to go off the record, I would have pushed back really hard because this is my one chance to talk to him for the book. So for him to say otherwise was disappointing and it was false, and I think it's revealing of his character in certain ways.
Mm-hmm. Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards. Hey, this is Dave Weishuttle from House of Cards with your House of Cards gaming report for the week of May 30th, 2022. Michigan reported that its iGaming platform set a new monthly record. In April, Michigan's online gaming platforms recorded $132.4 million in gross gaming revenue. This marks the third month in a row where Michigan has achieved a monthly record for iGaming. New Jersey's iGaming revenue totaled $136.8 million and Pennsylvania hit $113.1 million. A couple of Pennsylvania casinos have been fined for allowing gamblers on the exclusion list to play at their properties. Wind Creek Bethlehem was fined over $22,000 when a self-excluded gambler lost over $10,000 on the property. Hollywood Casino at Penn National Racecourse was also fined $10,000 when an excluded gambler spent an hour playing slot machines. Since the Keystone State legalized casino gambling in 2004, over 17,000 gamblers have placed their names on the self-exclusion list. And finally, America's favorite sports bettor is getting into poker. Mattress Mac will be sponsoring a team of 14 poker players who will play at the World Series of Poker this year. Mac, whose real name is Jim McIngvale, will give each player $40,000 and will also cover their travel expenses. In all, he is spending $560,000 for his poker team, who are calling themselves the Poker Stallions. Have any news or tips regarding casinos, gaming, or legislation? Send us an email at newsroom@houseofcardsradio.com and follow us on Twitter at HOC Radio.
You're listening to House of Cards.
Your Majesty, the royal wrestlers await.
I'll bet on the little guy. How much? 3,000 guineas, 2 geese, and a duck. That's a foul bet.
Welcome back to House of Cards. Dave Weishuttle with you. House of Cards is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. For those of you just joining us, I am talking with Alan Shipnuck, author of the incredible new book, Phil, a rip-roaring and unauthorized biography of golf's most colorful superstar. Now, some are saying that he got involved with the Saudi Golf League because he needed money because of gambling debts. He also sold his airplane, which is another thing people are starting to point to and say he needs money because of these debts. In your book and through your research, it was figured that Mickelson lost about $40 million from betting over a 4-year period. I mean, one story you documented in the book was that he was in Vegas with a bunch of friends who were heading to the sports book to place a bet, and he told them they better place their bets first, because when he placed his bet, that would move the line, which is incredible. I mean, was that an exaggeration on Mickelson's part, or was that an indication of how much money he was throwing down on sports betting?
Yeah, he was swimming in very deep waters. And, you know, the gambling's always been part of Phil's brand. Like, everyone knows he's a gambler. He's talked about it openly. And, I mean, he used to call him the Dan Patrick Show and give his football picks. And, you know, he's been very open about it through the years. So, but the question was, like, how much money are we talking about? And through my reporting, I was able to get a snapshot of it. And it's a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, you're millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so, and that's just what we know about. You know, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And he certainly made a fortune in his career, but it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And I think it's an open question, like, how much financial pressure is Phil feeling? Because, even in the breakup with Jim Mackay as caddy, money was at the root of that. Bones felt he was owed $900,000 that Phil wouldn't make good on. And, the Billy Walters insider trading case, part of that comes down to Phil selling these stocks so he can pay back this gambling debt to Billy Walters. Like, if Phil has as much money as we assumed he did, why wouldn't he just wire him the money? Why did he have to engage in these other things? And why is he not paying back Bones? Mm-hmm. And Phil he sold Air Phil, his Gulfstream, which he loved like a fourth child, and that raised some eyebrows. No one ever saw that, because he just loved that plane so much. And so we don't know everything about where Phil is financially, but these snapshots and suggest that maybe this Saudi money is more of a necessity than we could have imagined.
I'm glad you brought up Billy Walters. I mean, it seems like a lot of the problems that Mickelson encountered with regard to betting and the stock market starts with his association with Billy Walters. Who is Billy Walters, and what was his relationship to Phil Mickelson?
Billy Walters is a legend in Las Vegas. He was really the first guy to bring computer analysis into betting in the 1980s. And he had this syndicate, and they were cleaning up in Vegas. And he was also, he's the kind of guy who would observe a wheel bias in a roulette wheel, and he would spend the next 36 hours cleaning out the casino and walk out of there with, $3.6 million, which is a famous, something that really happened with Billy. And he loves golf. He's been a regular in Pro-Ams on the PGA Tour, and he loves to bet on the golf course. It was almost inevitable that him and Phil would somehow connect with each other, and they became friends, and Billy became a mentor to Phil. They became golf buddies, but they also started betting together, and it was a mutually beneficial relationship. And then, Phil suddenly had access to the mind of this legendary gambler who's claimed to have only one losing year across 4 decades. And then Billy got access to Phil's channels for how he was placing the bets, because Billy would have so much success, he would sometimes get cut off. And so they were placing these bets together, but sometimes Phil wanted to bet something that Billy Walters thought was a turkey, and he would pass, but he would still place the bet, because knowing it would lose would keep him in good graces with the bookies, right? And but over time, he was fronting the money, and Phil was losing these bets, and Phil wound up owing Billy a substantial amount of money, into the millions. And so that was the bet he had to pay off, and that's where this insider trading case comes in. And Phil was never charged with a crime. It's complex, and I lay it all out in the book, but he was adjacent to the crime, and so he was named as a relief defendant, and he had to give back $1 million in so-called ill-gotten gains, which is my favorite term. Yeah. And Billy was charged with crimes. He was convicted, and he went down the river, and he was sentenced to federal prison. And he always felt like if Phil had testified on his behalf, it would have made a difference. Whether that's true, it could have kept him out of jail, we don't know. But Phil had made it clear through lawyers he was going to take the Fifth Amendment, and he was not going to testify. And so, in Billy's world, loyalty is the coin of the realm, and that was the ultimate betrayal. So he's still mad at Phil, and Billy. It's in my book, and it's starting to leak out. He's writing his own book. It's about his life, which is incredibly colorful, but there's certainly going to be some chapters about Phil Mickelson. Sure. And my intention was to write a very fair, balanced look at a very complicated person. But Billy Walters is not a trained journalist. He's looking to get a scalp. He's looking for vengeance here. So Phil is rightfully worried about that book, and I think that's part of this period of reflection where he's gone underground. He's trying to sort out all these things that are swirling around him.
I found it amazing with regard to the insider trading case how close Mickelson came to jail time. I mean, if the case was heard at a different time, it was quite possible that Mickelson could have seen some time in jail if he was convicted. Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. And it's one of in a life full of great escapes, it's one of the biggest ones, because without getting in the weeds on this, there was these 2 court decisions that kind of bracketed this case. And the first one came down as investigators were putting their case together against Billy Walters, and basically said someone who's gets the information secondhand, in this case as Phil did, if they don't know the exact source of the relationship, or they don't know the where the information came or how it might be tainted, they can't be charged with a crime. And then 2 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court overruled that and said, "Well, not so fast. You're still culpable." And so, but Phil's case came due right in between these two decisions. So if it'd come up before December of 2014 or after December 2016, when these two court cases came through, Phil would have been in a much more precarious position. So it was really dumb luck that these other court cases played out the way they did, just as federal investigators were putting this whole thing together. So it's a fascinating chapter in Phil's life, and in this book.
Another case that Phil Mickelson's name came up in is the case of the Detroit bookie Dandy Don DiSerrano. In fact, during the plea agreement in the case, there was a quote that said, quote, "money laundering of funds from PM," unquote. What was Mickelson's involvement in that case?
Yeah, outside the lines, they had these documents that indicated that was Phil who had sent by wire almost $3 million to this gambling associate in San Diego, and this guy wound up being convicted for tax and wire fraud crimes, and he went to jail as well. And so, there's these really shady characters that are in Phil's life, and there's a lot of money changing hands. And so it does beg the question, like, how deep did the gambling go? We know a little bit of it. Some of these things have leaked out in court documents and trial transcripts, but there's a lot we don't know, and it does kind of color this whole Saudi seduction. Is how much need are we talking about for a guy who's number 2 all time on the tour's money list and who made a killing in the endorsement market? So it's a fascinating subtext to this whole book.
Given all these events and all the controversial things that he has said and done, and what he continues to do, how is he viewed by the other players on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Phil's always been the lightning rod, and some players really respect him for speaking truth to power. He rubs some of them the wrong way. Some are amused by him, some can't stand him. He's just a polarizing character, and all that's in the book. I wanted to write a really balanced look at this very larger than life personality. So all of Phil's philanthropies in there, all his random acts of kindness with other players and fans, his mentorship of a lot of young guys on the tour. I was happy to celebrate all of Phil's virtues, and there are many, but there has been a lot of controversy and there has been a lot of messiness, and that's all in the book too. And there's a lot of voices from the tour, and some are supportive and there's some detractors. And again, I think that balance was important to present to the readers, and they'll make up their own mind, what they really think about who Phil is.
Well, I want to kind of end on a nice note, and one thing that has remained constant throughout Mickelson's professional career has been his wife, Amy. By all accounts, they have a great relationship. Given all his ups and downs in his career, what has it meant for him to have Amy with him throughout it all?
Yeah, she's been his North Star. Everyone in the game loves Amy, and she's a very skilled, de facto publicist, because she's just charming and chatty with reporters and everybody in the game. And even, when Phil would play bad, he'd stomp away. In this childish fashion, Amy would give reporters good material, and so it helped soften Phil's image for sure. So, yeah, she's been a huge part of her story, and, her cancer battle was well known and helped galvanize the whole tour community and led to a tremendous amount of awareness and fundraising around breast cancer. So, Phil is polarizing, but Amy is not. Everybody loves Amy, and so there's some fun stuff in the book about her as well.
Well, I knew this was going to be one of those interviews that I'm going to run out of time on. I didn't get to the high points of his career. I didn't get to his relationship with Tiger or his caddy. And hey, there's even a story about the Toledo Mud Hens in the book. So check this out. But the name of the book is Phil, the Rip-Roaring and Unauthorized Biography of Golf's Most Colorful Superstar. Alan, where can people buy the book? Is it basically everywhere? Amazon, bookstores? It's out now, right?
For sure. Yeah, ideally there's a local independent bookstore in your town you want to support, because we're trying to keep those bookstores going. But for sure, it's on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, anywhere you buy your books. And I did read the audio version, which was really fun, and it brought a certain amount of passion to that. So if you like audiobooks, I think that's a good listen. But yeah, it's pretty much everywhere at this point.
Alan Shipnuck, author of Phil, the Rip-Roaring and Unauthorized Biography of Golf's Most Colorful Superstar. Thanks so much for coming on and talking about the book with us. It's an incredible read, and I urge everyone to pick up a copy. Thanks so much for talking about it with us.
Well, thanks for having me. This is a great conversation. I appreciate that. I appreciate your interest.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more House of Cards.
People gotta win sometime.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a giant, colorful check to deposit.
Beating the House is brought to you by BetMGM Casino. Play your favorite casino games at BetMGM Online Casino. Slots, table games, live dealer games, everything you love about Atlantic City and Vegas, all online at BetMGM. Don't wait. Join in the fun now. Go to BetMGM Casino, create an account using our promo code Turnpike, and become a verified player. New players get $25 free when signing up, plus a first deposit bonus up to $1,000. That's promo code Turnpike at BetMGM.com for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $25 free. Grab a lion's share of the fun at BetMGM.com. Must be 21 years or older to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to this week's edition of Beating the House, where we're going to crisscross the country in search of all the different jackpots we can get our hands on, from the press releases we're sent by the casinos, the lottery commissions, and just talk about the different types of jackpots that were hit, the different types of games, as well as the different locations around the country that people can actually travel to and win some of these games with.
Yeah, no, I like. I'm finding myself when I walk into a casino in the gaming floor. I'm looking at some of the machines that you told me about in this segment. I mean, I don't let's like get past the fourth wall or something like that. I don't know what you're going to tell me about these things. So when you say you put a notes in front of me. One's dancing drums. That's the first thing I saw. I was like, oh, I know that game. I played that game. So I start looking for it in the casinos.
Well, there are two different types of dancing drums.
See, I didn't know that.
There's dancing drums and dancing drums explosion.
Okay.
I think there's also a third one coming out at some point.
See, I don't know which one I played now.
Well, the one that's online right now in a lot of the online
I played
casinos
online, so
is Dancing Drums Explosion.
Okay, maybe I did that one.
But there are some of the online casinos that have both.
Okay, that pays out a lot, by the way.
It always pays out.
I love Dancing Drums.
It's almost as good as Divine Fortune in terms of actually paying out. But right now we're going to be talking about a brick and mortar jackpot.
Okay.
First of all, keep those press releases coming in. They love getting them. info@turnpikesportsradio.com. Not only do we love hearing about the jackpots, we like hearing about the locations as well.
Yeah.
And also, we love learning about the games, because some of these games I've never heard of.
Yeah.
and they're coming out with new ones more and more every day. As a matter of fact, I think I saw an announcement. One of the Vegas casinos just got the new Dune slot machine.
Wow,
based
Dune,
on the movie.
huh?
Based on the movie.
The movie from the 80s?
No, the new movie.
The new movie.
Starring the guy from Aquaman and the girl from one of the new Spider-Man movies, Zendaya or whatever her name is. But it was a OTT, a streaming movie.
That's a big thing now. You bring out a movie, you get you
kind of have to have
slot machine with it.
Well, it's all part of IP now.
Yeah, I guess so.
And especially if it's popular, and name, image, likeness is a huge thing now.
And
not
it's
only
actual
for sports,
advertising you can make money on.
And also, in some instances, not only do the slot machines based upon TV or movies have actual scenes from those TV shows and movies, they actually shoot scenes for the games.
Oh, okay.
And they use the voices, or they use some kind of motion capture or whatever. And there's a whole industry. I know Aristocrat does it. IGT does it. It's a huge industry creating games based upon TV, movies, books, all that stuff.
Oh, great.
But we're going to start off here. We're going down to Florida.
All right.
We haven't done Florida in a while. Florida's always been big with jackpots in terms of the Hard Rock franchise.
Okay.
Seminole Hard Rock Tampa we're going to be talking about here.
Oh, this is the note I was just talking about. I looked at your production notes. I saw dancing drums. I saw nothing else. I just saw dancing drums. I know dancing drums.
Well, when you see the names of the games now, sometimes you kind of, you focus on the name of the game. But this is a dancing drum slot machine. $22 bet turned into $522,234.
Wow.
That is one of the biggest ones.
I won money on dancing drums, but I didn't win $500,000.
It's one of the biggest ones Seminole has churned out this year.
Okay.
I know I think they had 700 or 600 or I think even $1 million jackpot earlier this year, if not late last year when we were doing this segment. But it's one of the biggest ones of the year for Seminole Hard Rock Tampa. And it was, it's good to see them always doing that. Again, kind of a high bet for me, $22. I mean, I don't know if I would ever do that on a slot machine, but
if you want to win $500,000,
I guess so.
You might have to.
So. Well, maybe if you were doing Dancing Drums Explosion, it would have been a smaller bet with a bigger.
I don't know.
I don't know exactly how.
I don't know the
Drum
exact
works.
differences between Dancing Drums and Dancing Drums Explosion.
Well, again, this is a $522,000 jackpot. Seminole Hard Rock, Tampa, Florida. As a matter of fact, I remember seeing a press release earlier this year that they had already kicked out something like $33 million in jackpots at some point. But again, $522,000, one of the biggest ones for this year. Going to the Heartland, Kansas.
All right, Kansas.
Matter of fact, congratulations, Kansas, for just passing sports betting.
Yeah, last week.
Yes,
I guess. Yeah,
and also being sued by one of your own casinos.
Yeah, what casino sued?
The Majestics. No, that was.
I don't even know.
It was one of the Bally's properties.
No, I think it was a Boyd Gaming.
Boyd Gaming property.
Yeah, it was
sorry, guys. It was a Boyd Gaming property suing on a historical horse racing contract.
I guess they were claiming that
they were supposed to be the only ones in a certain county,
kind of exclusive thing.
Yeah, and another place in the same county put up historical horse racing machines. That's a whole other issue than what we're talking about here. But we're going to the Prairie Band Casino in Mayetta, Kansas.
All right.
I believe that's how you say that, the name of the town, Mayetta. If anyone's living there, if anyone's from there, I apologize, but it's Mayetta, Kansas. Prairie Band Casino. We have Douglas winning $273,943. Not this Douglas.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if it was me, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Right.
But he won $273,943 on the classic stepper game, Star Wheel.
Not even sure I know what that means.
Stepper game is it's a referral to a 3-reel slot machine that has different stages.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So that's what a stepper game is.
All right, I learn something new every day.
And matter of fact, I got this from not only the casino, but I got it from the game maker, Every. Every makes the Star Wheel game. It's actually one of a pair of patriotic themed games. You have the Star Wheel and the American Wheel.
Okay.
Both are patriotic star themed games that basically get glittering stars to trigger bonuses. And also they have a whole bunch of different lighting systems that actually stand out on the floor of the casino.
All the bells and whistles. So, and they must have gone off if this guy won
$273,943.
Wow.
One of the bigger ones from Prairie Band Casino.
All right.
Going out to Vegas right now. We're going to Bally's Las Vegas. We have a Caesars Rewards member hitting a jackpot for $91,594 playing the Lightning Cash slot machine.
Okay.
I've actually seen these Lightning Cash slot machines. Matter of fact, they're part of, I think, the Lightning Link series that are all linked together, progressive.
This is one of those machines I'd know it if I saw it.
Probably.
I just can't. I can't picture it right now. So.
But again, you got companies like Aristocrat putting out the Buffalo game.
Yep.
Then you got another company doing the Bison games.
Okay.
So this, there's Lightning Link games, and then there's Lightning Cash games. But again, $91,594, and a lot of rewards points earned by that guy with that jackpot. We're gonna leave Nevada. We're going to go to the East Coast again.
All right.
I got to organize these geographically.
Yeah, right.
I did say crisscrossing the country in the beginning of this.
You know what you got to do? You got to do a graphic that has the line traveling.
Oh, like an Indiana Jones movie?
Indiana Jones.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Jackpot Jones.
Yeah.
But again, we're going to Encore Boston Harbor.
A lot of money is being won at Boston Encore Harbor. No, wait, Encore Boston Harbor. I got to get the name right. Harbor. Yeah, no, a lot of money is getting won out of there.
First of all, it's a beautiful property.
Oh, absolutely. They just got their 5-star
resort
rating by someone. I don't even know.
Well, it's a beautiful place.
It's incredible.
It deserves a 5-star rating.
Oh, absolutely.
We got 2 jackpots, one on this, one about maybe within a week of each other. Encore Boston Harbor. Matter of fact, I think the last time we did this, we had 2 jackpots dealing with a poker game, not an actual not poker.
It's like one of those 3-card
one
poker
of the table
things,
games.
or?
Joker for poker or Fun for poker. Or some name, something with 4 poker in it. I can't remember. I don't have my notes in front of me.
I remember.
I
can't remember the name of it though.
And I apologize again because I don't remember that name. But again, this one we have Cecilia winning $77,000.
Crazy for poker.
That's it. There you go.
Crazy.
Oh,
number 4.
You actually
poker.
have access to my other notes.
I have notes now. See,
there you go.
So one of us is prepared. No, but it's crazy, and then the number 4, and it says poker.
It has something to do with 4 cards being dealt or something. So
whatever.
Cecilia won $77,228 playing the Lightning Link slot machine. There's the other we were just talking about, Lightning Cash. This is Lightning Link.
Okay, all right.
Matter of fact, I remember going down to Atlantic City, and I think it was Bally's, maybe. They had the Lightning Link room.
Oh, okay.
They had it all set aside for the Lightning Link machines.
All right.
Which were pretty cool to look at.
Great.
They stood out. But Lightning Link slot machine, $77,000 at Encore Boston Harbor. And about a week before, another person, and I remember you asking this question last week, what happens when the person doesn't want their name out there or their picture taken? We have an anonymous winner taking home $80,000 playing the double gold slot machine at Encore Boston Harbor. And what they did, they didn't put the name out.
Okay.
And all they did was tweet a picture of the reels of the machine.
Sure.
So
no, what we were talking about last week, where they put it on Facebook, and I see some comments saying,
"Doesn't look happy."
Oh, why do they take their picture? I wouldn't want to take my picture if I won that much money, implying that they were forced to take a picture. I mean, they get permission from these players to take their pictures. Yes. So it's not like the casino personnel holding people down taking their pictures. No, they get permission.
That would be a funny picture to say.
They get permission.
That would be a funny picture
They get permission to say their name and the amount.
Yes. So. And so now when they don't give permission for
it's completely
name
voluntary.
Or picture,
yes.
It's a picture of the reels.
Yes, it's completely voluntary, taking pictures.
We're going to move over to Nevada again. We have just a general report from the Rampart Casino at the resort at Summerlin.
Okay.
Since May 1st, they have already paid out $22.6 million in jackpots.
Since May 1st?
Since May 1st.
Whoa, okay.
And we're about 20 days into May now.
Okay.
By the time this airs, probably
pretty impressive.
I mean, yes. And it's not a huge casino either. It's on a beautiful property.
I've actually never heard of it. Rampart Casino.
It's actually part of a huge resort in Summerlin.
All right.
And there's there's another hotel there. There's a golf course. It's a beautiful, beautiful property. The last couple jackpots themselves were a $40,000 jackpot on double bonus poker. The video poker machines. I believe previous guest.
I only play
Love
them
that
at
game.
I only play them at the bar.
Yes.
I don't just you go to a bar, you sit down, it's right in front of you, and you start playing it.
And the other more recent one, I mean, they're if you go to their website, they list these all out. I mean, they got 10,000 here, 5,000 here, 12,000, 40,000 on double bonus poker, and then you had a $21,000 jackpot on what looked like the Lock It Link piggy bank themed machine. They didn't put the name of the machine up there.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going by the image there.
All right.
We're going to move from casinos to lotteries. We have the Michigan Lottery. We haven't done a Michigan Lottery story in a while. We used to do one almost every week for a while.
Yeah, they had a lot of winners.
We're talking about a Battle Creek man who won the Michigan Lottery's Lotto 47 game, but did not know it for a couple of weeks.
Well, look, I mean, I can see how that happens. You buy a ticket, you put it in your wallet, and you never look at it.
He didn't do it. He didn't do that.
He didn't do that.
No.
What did he do?
He buys tickets, and every so often, like every 2 weeks or so, every 3 weeks, he has his wife check him against the lottery app.
Okay,
and this has been sitting there for a week. She checked out all these tickets, came across the winner, and they discovered several weeks later. This is we're talking mid-May here. This was reported.
Mm-hmm.
This was for the April 20th drawing.
Well, you have a whole year to claim it.
$3.39.
I think you have a whole year to claim it.
$3.39 million.
Wow.
And it was just sitting there in a stack of lottery tickets.
Well, see, he has a good, efficient system, which
he has
is
a good,
great.
efficient wife if she actually knows enough to do that.
Won $3.3 million.
She's
so
very
I'm
happy
sure
to
they're
continue
very
checking.
happy to do it.
Yes,
so.
yes. Going over to the Virginia Lottery, we got a couple stories, couple winners here. We have Mickey Shelton. They actually released the names.
Okay.
An Axton man who owns a small business. He usually goes into a certain store and gets a lottery ticket and a cup of coffee. He actually bought a 10 years of cash ticket from the Virginia Lottery. It's another one of their scratchers.
Okay.
And at first he thought he won $600. So he thought he was starting off his day good.
Great.
He took the ticket to the cashier. The cashier said, looks like $600. And then he looked at it closer and gave it back to the guy and let the guy look at it again. And he found that he won $566,000.
Wow.
Yes. The full amount, he took the one-time cash sum. That's after taxes.
Sure.
So, yeah.
They always say to do that.
Yeah.
If you're won a lottery, take the lump sum.
Well, he had a choice: the lump sum, $566,000, or $5,000 a month for 10 years.
Yeah,
I mean, either way, it works out in your favor when you win. But I'm assuming
that's why if you win a lottery, you got
taxes.
Well, you always have to check with your accountant, your financial advisor. Always check with a lawyer, especially if you win something really, really big.
And two other big numbers from the Virginia Lottery: Kirk Mayer bought a cash 5 and with an easy match ticket, the quick picks.
Okay.
He won $248,587. And he actually tapped into a bonus, so he got even more money with the prize.
Okay. That's good.
And Lakeisha W., no last name, Fairfax won $237,633 playing the Cash Buster Multiplier. That's one of their online instant games at the Virginia Lottery.
Okay.
So congratulations to all our winners this week. Casinos, lotteries, please keep the press releases coming in, and we'll keep doing this segment. We love learning about the new games, the new lottery game scratchers, the new casino games that are out there, and we'll just keep doing this. This is fun.
Well, that'll do it for us this week. I'll see you next time on House of Cards.